Hi, and welcome to Hatha practice. My name is Angie, and today we're going to do a nice floor sequence. There'll be a little bit of standing, but not full standing, a little bit of core work. It's going to be awesome and fun and grounding. And let's start on our backs. Oh, if you have a strap, a yoga strap, or a block, or you could use something like a bathrobe tie or a belt. Go and grab that now and then come right back. So we'll meet on our backs. So coming into a comfortable position on your back, your feet can be on the ground, knees up. And then just take your hands now to your belly. And just start to feel your breath in your body. Feel the movement of your belly. And then bring one hand up to your chest and keeping one hand on your belly. And breathing in, breathe into your belly and into your ribs and out from your ribs and out from your belly. And breathe into your belly, ribs, out, ribs, out, belly. Now let's take about 3 more cycles of breath like this. Your breath doesn't have to be huge. It can be just a natural breath, something where it's comfortable to breathe. You're not straining to bring air in or pushing to take your air out. And you can take now both hands onto your pelvis. It's sort of like a diamond shape here. And just bringing down your knees out into a butterfly. And then bring your knees back up. And so the movement here is actually at your hips. And if you're getting a little bit of shaking, that's completely okay. I want you to feel, maybe even bring your hands into the hip creases and feel the movement at your hip crease. Try to keep your ankles neutral so they're not rolling out to the side and your feet are not sliding on your mat. So they're kind of just pivoting over the edge of your foot. And now if you want an extra little challenge here, take your hands into the hip creases and see if your hip flexors are firing. They ought not to be in this movement. So your hip flexors, if you feel into the hip crease and you lift a hand, that's when you will feel a contraction or the firmness of the hip flexors. So once you've got that feeling and you come back into that slow butterfly, see if you can do it without using the hip flexors. You can go as slow or as quickly as you like here. We'll do about 2 more. Okay. So taking your hands now down by your side, start to come up into a bridge. So you're just going to lift up the pelvis and then come back down. And we'll just move here up and down in the bridge.
And as you're moving, notice if your pelvis is shifting. It may rock side to side or tuck and tilt. And can you take out that movement? Can you make your pelvis stable as you lift up and down? You can bring your hands onto your pelvis to see. And so let's say if you're coming up and you've got some rocking or tucking, then don't go up as high. Like stay in a range of motion where you can keep that your pelvis stable. So in your bridge, you move, the two primary pivot points are at the hips and the shoulders. So see if you can be aware now of the hips moving. So that angle changes right at the hip crease. But it also changes up here at the shoulder. So see if you can notice that as you're moving. Hip, shoulder connected through your spine. Okay, and then coming back down, resting your pelvis on the ground. You'll bring your hand to your knee and your knee to your hand. And just gently press your hand and your knee together. So you've got force coming from both directions. You'll start to feel your core engaging. I want you to keep your lower back neutral. So if your back with both feet on the ground has a little bit of space, some have big spaces, some have little, it depends on your body. But I want you to maintain that space as you press into your knee. Notice the quality and tone coming into your core. I want this to be, you want it to be like a nice, gentle turn on or engagement, but not like a brace or a grip. Let's switch sides. So you can still breathe fairly easily, and you can still feel some movement of breath in through your torso. Okay, so now let's bring up the right and the left, maintaining that neutral spine. And then switch hands. So we're just crossing our hands over into an X, opposite hand, opposite leg. Easy breathing. Anytime you can take this down a notch by keeping one foot on the ground. And let's release both feet onto the ground. So you're going to take your hands wide into a T and bring both feet up into like a reverse tabletop. And we're coming into a wide twist. So for this twist, you're going to take your knees far apart, so as far as your hips, the range of motion of your hips allows. And you'll bring the right knee down towards the ground, and then the left knee will follow and land on top. And then to move, don't worry about keeping your shoulders on the ground. Your shoulder can lift up in this twist. So then the left knee will come up, but the right does not lift up off the ground until that range of motion in your hips is as wide as it goes. And then the weight of the leg helps to bring you over to the other side into the twist. So we'll move through this a few more times. And again, going as slow or as fast as you like, just being mindful of your range of motion. And at any time, if you're experiencing pain or discomfort or bracing in a movement, take it down a notch. Either do it smaller or maybe the movement just doesn't work for you right now. Okay, let's come back into neutral, feet back onto the ground. And we'll come back up into the bridge, so lifting up and down. I want you to become aware of the 3 points in your feet. So the big toe mound, the baby toe mound, and the heel of each foot. And pressing down evenly through both feet. So the next bridge that you come into, I want you to stay up in this bridge and now start to press down a little bit more firmly into the right foot. So just pressing big toe mound, baby toe mound, and heel into the right foot until you get really light through the left. And then if it's there for you, you can start to lift the left heel. Now remembering, watching that quality of engagement through your core, through your body. It's not a bracing, you're not holding, clenching. And then if it's there for you, you can even lift that leg up off the ground or bring it out straight. And then bring it back down. So let's come all the way down and back up. And now pressing into the left foot, baby toe mound, big toe mound, and heel. Slowly start to de-weight the right. And maybe lifting the heel. But there's a huge range of what you can do here. So what I really want you to notice is how your body responds as you try to move, as you try to de-weight the leg. And then if it's there for you, you can lift. Try to keep your pelvis neutral and stable. And then back down. Take a big breath and let it go. So bringing your feet back up again into that reverse table. Take your hands onto your pelvis. And now this time we're going to do heel drop. So dropping down the right foot and then back up. Left foot and then back up. As you're moving, opposite foot and then opposite foot. Try to keep your spine neutral again without pressing the low back down. And an easy breath. If you want to give yourself more challenge, you can start to take your heel further away from your body and tap down further away. Play around with this and just notice, like, when you get to that, to your full capacity or the edge of the intensity level, you'll start to feel that gripping quality of bracing. So move back from that and be in that range of motion where it's challenging, but you can still breathe. Then we'll finish up last side. Good. Take your arms back out into that T, legs go wide, and let's twist. Dropping the knees over to one side, lift the top leg, right leg follows, or bottom leg follows, twist. And we'll do that a couple more times. And twisting is so awesome. It's so good for you. And the last one. And draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a good squeeze. And then we're going to roll over to our side here. I'm going to set up for a side plank. So forearm side plank. So your bottom arm, your elbows right underneath your shoulder, and you can stack your knees here, and we can lift up from the knees, or you can lift up from double legs. So whichever level of intensity you want to go to. As you lift up into your plank, I want you to watch the pivot again around here, around the shoulder, and trying to keep your body coming up all together. So if you, come up like that. Let's practice that a couple more times. Lifting up. And last one, come up. This time we're going to hold. Option to bring your arm up towards the ceiling, or you can keep it by your side. Let's take 2 big breaths here. And then come back down. Big breath. Let it go. And we're going to come up again and paying attention here to the side of your abdomen. So this is kind of the area that we want to work. Not so much as pressing down into the legs, but lifting up from here. So coming up and back down. One more time up. And extend the top leg. Bring your hand into the hip crease. Press through the heel, and now lift your leg up to hip height. Only move your leg, so your whole torso here is neutral. There's no crunching at the waist, like that. So here. Good. This time, point your toes slightly up. So the rotation's actually at the hip, rotating up, and then lift up again. Maybe here you might notice your bum or the side of your bum, side of your leg working a little bit more. Do that a couple more times. Awesome. And release. We'll come back down. And let's switch sides. So setting up, shoulder over elbow. Knees stacked, legs are straight or bent. And then lift up. And back down. So let's do that a couple more times, lifting up. Remembering the where you want to lift from is here, the side of your torso, bottom side. And let's hold this time, side plank, arm can stay here or reach up. 2 more big breaths. And come back down, big breath. And let's go up again, lifting up. Extend the top leg. Your hand's gonna come into the hip crease. Press through your heel and start to lift your leg up to hip height. You'll know if you're going too far because you'll feel that crunch in your side ribs or in your abdomen, and we don't wanna have that crunch. Good. So next one, we're gonna rotate our leg bone, externally rotate up towards the ceiling, and then lift up. And we'll just do a couple here, maybe feeling a little bit more of the side bum or the side of your leg. Awesome. And release down. Good. Okay. So taking a break here, take a couple breaths. And we'll come onto our belly. And just land your cheek onto the side of the mat, just wiggle your hips. Let all that core work go. And bring your chin back to center, opposite cheek to the mat. And chin back to center. Bring your hands just underneath your shoulders. And start to engage your legs. So you're gonna press the tops of your feet down, drawing up on the kneecaps so you feel your quads engaged, and then your bum. And gently start to lift yourself up into a baby cobra. So without using your hands, you're just gonna use your back to lift up, spreading wide through the collarbones here. And you can keep your gaze down over the bridge of your nose towards the floor. Let's take 2 breaths here. And release down. We'll come back up into one more cobra, and if you want to do baby again or come up into a full cobra or up dog, so wherever you're feeling today, we'll take that back bend. So lifting up, and maybe lifting up half cobra or a full cobra here. And come back down. Curl your toes under, press into your hands, and then lift yourself into a downward facing dog. And just walking your dog, we'll pedal through a few. And bringing both feet down towards your mat, or both heels down towards your mat. Bend your knees slightly. Get really long through your torso, pressing your chest back to your thighs. Breathe into your belly, ribs, let it go. And belly, ribs, let it go. So we'll drop our knees down towards our mat. And this time grabbing your strap. So whatever you had around for your strap. We're gonna take our arms up overhead. And you can take your hands in whatever kind of width you want. So overhead here or a little bit wider, whatever feels comfortable through your shoulders. And you can sit back on your heels like I am, or sit in an easy pose, cross-legged, whatever works for you. I want you to start making circles. You can start some small circles here, just through the shoulders, and just being conscious that you're not moving through the spine. So it could look like this. So we don't want to do that. We want to do more of this. So a stable torso, switch directions, but shoulders are making the movement. And switch directions again. It's okay if there's a little bit of movement in the torso. We don't want it to be rigid, but we don't want it, we want most of the movement to come through the shoulders. Switch directions. Good, and then back. We'll take your arms a little bit wider. And now if it's available to you, you can bring the strap down behind your head and then bring it back up. And we'll move through this a few more times as you lift up, reaching towards the ceiling. As you come down, draw the shoulder blades towards each other and down your back. Yeah, so you can add a little bit of a squeeze there. Just keeping a nice light grip through your hands, through the fingers. Great. And we'll strap off to the side. Bringing your legs out in front of you. We'll take the right leg or the left leg in and then over. Option to go over the opposite leg, or you can keep it right here. Bring your hands underneath your chin, just twist. Taking your back arm towards the center of your spine. You can reach out with the front arm, and then if it's there for you, you can hook the elbow. But if your elbow comes here, just stay with it. You can grab your hand across your thigh rather than trying to force the twist deeper. And just breathe here, a couple breaths. You should feel your obliques working. So the sides of your abdomen is the main generators of the twist. Rather than pulling through your arms, you want to feel a nice squeeze or a nice hug around your abdomen. And come back to center, opposite leg in. First twist using obliques towards the bent knee. Take your back arm to the base of your spine and then reach the front arm forward. Now we're adding shoulders into the twist. If your elbow makes it, you can hook. If not, just grab with your hand and we'll hold here. You'll know if you're twisting too far because you won't feel your obliques anymore and you'll just feel a lot of work through the shoulders. So try to keep a nice balance of work with the abdomen and at the shoulders. Last breath. And come back to center. Downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. And drop your knees. And walk your hands back towards your knees. So we're going to come up onto our knees. And your back toes, or your toes can be curled under or flat. It's up to you.
in the back. Take your hands up on top of your pelvis and now bring your left leg out to the side. Let's get a move here. So as you bring your leg out, check that your pelvis is level with the ground. So we don't want it to have shifted into a tilt, but we want to try and keep it as level as possible with the ground. Start to press your left foot into the mat and then draw your left foot as if you're kind of scrubbing it on the mat towards the center of your body. You should start to feel the inner thigh start to work. And that's where we want to be. You want to feel the inner thigh work, but not too grippy up here in the hip. So if it gets too grippy here, press less. And let's take a couple breaths there. And now take your right arm out to the side, lift it up towards your ear, and take a side bend. So the side bend's coming from the spine through the torso, and you can kind of let your left arm come down the thigh. Keep that pressing down of the left foot. 2 more breaths here. And come back up. So we'll take that leg in and bring the right leg out. So setting up, hands on top of pelvis, level your pelvis as best you can. Then press down through your foot, draw the foot or scrub the foot on the mat towards the center of your body. Feel the inner thigh activate. And we'll just hold for a couple breaths here. Finding that balance of effort and ease through a sukha in all of the movements we do on our mat. And take the left arm out to the side, up towards your ear. Side bend through your torso, through the spine. Keep your hips or your pelvis exactly where it is. You can extend the right hand down your thigh, but it's very light in pressure. Floating. Good. 3 more cycles of breath here. And come back up. Hands on top of the pelvis. Draw that leg back in. And just sitting your bum back, we'll walk our hands out into downward facing dog. Three big breaths. Spread your fingers nice and wide, pressing down into the finger pads. Spread your toes nice and wide, and press down through your heels. Let's start to lift the right leg, and you'll draw the right foot up between your hands. So we'll drop down that foot, drop the back knee, coming into a low lunge with your hands on either side of your foot. You can extend the back foot so the toenail side is down. You're pressing down into the top of the foot. And at this point, if you have a block around, you might want to grab it, or if it's close to the top of the mat, we can use it in this sequence. Okay, slowly walk your hands up onto your thigh. So coming into the low lunge, bring your pelvis or bring your back knee up a little bit if it's way behind your hip. So you can just scoot it in, and as you come up, the knee is over, or the hip joint is over the knee, or fairly close to it. And you can start to just move forward and back. So the movement here, turn this way, is just a small one through the hip. So hip extension, and rather than a full tilt of the pelvis. So as you see here, I come into a little bit of a back bend, And where I don't want that for this movement, we just want the little extension through the hip. So it's more on the leg bone moving in the hip socket rather than your pelvis on the spine. And it's very small. Anatomically, we don't actually have a lot of range of motion in extension, maybe like 11 degrees or so backwards, if you even have the full range of motion. Let's do that a couple more times. Okay, take your hands to heart center or just under your chin and twist towards the right leg. Feel your obliques. So option to stay here, or you can extend your arms out. So front arm's gonna come straight out, back arm towards the back in kind of a 90-degree angle. You're gonna reach with the front arm or protract, retract with the back arm. So the back shoulder blade's coming towards your spine, the front shoulder blade's reaching away. Try to keep your pelvis level to the front. Rather than twisting through there, we want the twist to come through the spine. 2 more breaths. And come back to center. Bring your hands down on either side of your front foot. Curl the back toe under, lift your knee, and then step that foot in about halfway up your mat. This is where the block can come in handy, or sometimes I use a water bottle at home, or any kind of thing you can stack here. So we'll come up into a flat spine, about a halfway lift. So my back foot's turned out about 45 degrees, and that rotation's at the hip. Front foot's about 12 o'clock. Spine becomes neutral. And then you can fold in here to pyramid pose. So to decrease intensity, you can just bend through the right knee as much as you need to. But keep a nice grounding through both feet. So big toe mound, baby toe mound, and heel of both feet are pressing down into your mat. If the back foot lifts up, just draw it closer to the front to where you can get a good solid grounding. Let's hold for 3 breaths. Good, okay. Hands back to the ground, bend the front knee, press yourself back into downward facing dog. Lift the left leg up, step it forward, low lunge, drop the back knee, and we'll hold here for a couple breaths. You can extend the back foot so the toenail side is down. You can press into that back foot if you like. And start to walk your hands up onto your thigh. Scoop the back knee in so that it's right underneath your hip. And we'll find that little movement of the hip extension. So just a pulse forward and back. You can watch the front knee too. If the front knee is going way past your ankle, then you can scoot it in. So that might look like this. If you had it too close in, you could be doing that. And you'd rather move it forward, and as you come forward, it just lands on top of the ankle or thereabouts. Okay, bring your hands underneath your chin, twist towards the left knee. An option to add the arms. Front arm goes forward, back arm out to the side in a 90 degrees. So you're reaching with the front arm or protracting, retracting the back shoulder blade or drawing that towards the spine. So you might leverage more of twist here. Try to keep your pelvis neutral to the front, but without any gripping or bracing. And you can still bring breath all the way through your twist, all the way through your torso. Come back to center. Hands on either side of the front foot. Curl the back toe under, lift your knee, and then step it in about halfway for pyramid pose. Your back foot is rotated out at the hip, external rotation. Bring your hands up onto that block, or if you haven't got a prop, they can come up onto your thigh here. Coming into the halfway lift, neutral spine, and then hinging at the hips to fold forward. Bend your left knee, the front knee, if you want to decrease the intensity. Stay grounded through both feet. Good. 2 more breaths. And then take your hands back to the mat. Step yourself back, downward facing dog. 3 big breaths here in our last down dog. Last breath. And drop your knees down. And we'll come down onto our bums. And then back onto our backs. Start to draw your knees towards your armpits. So you'll grab the backs of your thighs at first. So keeping in mind neutral spine, you've got that maybe a small little space in the low back. Tailbone is on the floor. So you'll draw your knees in and trying to maintain that spine. So we're just moving through the hips. So you can stay like this, or you can grab onto your shins, or you can grab onto your feet, as long as your pelvis doesn't lift anymore off the ground. So we're in happy baby. You can play around here, either holding the toes, thighs, or shins, straightening leg, or the opposite, or both. We'll play for about 5 more cycles of breath. You can even add a few little hip circles here, trying to move just through the hip and not so much the pelvis. And 3 more breaths. And bring your knees back together, feet onto the ground. Lift your right leg up towards the ceiling and start to externally rotate. So you're moving your leg bone at the hip socket. And the rest of your leg is just along for the ride. You're just watching, you're not trying to move too much through the toes or the foot. So on the external rotation, cross your ankle over your thigh bone. And now start to move the knee away from you and then back. So again, this is a small movement, or can be a small movement. Try to keep your pelvis neutral as you move your knee away from you. And then for an extra challenge, take your hand into the hip crease and see if you can do the movement without contracting your hip flexors. Good. Okay, you can stay with this movement, or you can come in to thread the needle. So thread the needle, there's a few options. You can lift the left leg and just stay like this. Or you can grab the underside of the thigh and pull in. If you decide to pull in, just make sure you're not bringing your tailbone off the ground and you're just moving through the hip. Let's hold here for a few cycles of breath. Sometimes we think we're moving through the hips, and I hear a lot of people coming to yoga because they want to increase the flexibility at their hips or range of motion at their hips. And a lot of yoga poses are great for that. But it's very easy to move elsewhere than the hips. So like, for example, in this pose, rather than at the hip, I could lift up like this, and now I'm more into my back rather than the hip. All right, so we'll release that side. Cross your right knee over the left. So now your legs are crossed at the knees.
And then draw the knees towards the center of your body. So you can pull in on your knees. This is a reclined cow face, half cow face. Or you can grab onto your ankles and then draw your feet out to the sides and pulling down. Let's just take 3 breaths here. And let's release, both feet back on the ground. Left leg comes straight up. Externally rotate at the left hip. Just feel, even bring your hand in there, feel that movement at the hip crease. And on the external rotation, cross your ankle over the thigh and start to move your knee away and back. So that movement's coming at the hip and your pelvis is relatively neutral. And for that added challenge, you can have your hand in the hip crease and try to move without flexing or engaging your hip flexors. So option to stay with this movement, or you can come up into the thread the needle, lifting the right leg up, and option to grab the underside of the thigh. So I've seen many of my students and many of my private clients, when they move better through their hips and when they are more aware of moving through their hips, different areas of pain can go away or lessen in your body, especially with back pain. If you're no longer relying on your back for the movement and you've now figured out how to get your legs to do it, it makes a big difference, or it can make a big difference. Let's release that thigh and then cross the left knee over right and draw your knees to your chest. You can squeeze in here or grab opposite ankles and pull out to the sides. So if you're grabbing ankles too, you don't want to be lifting up and trying to force things down. Sthira, a balance of effort and ease. If you grip, if you brace, it's kind of like training that pattern in your body and your movements. And it's very easy to bring that kind of quality, even if it shows up on your mat, it might be showing up in other things you're doing, your work, your day-to-day life. Let's release both legs, and we'll bring both knees into the chest and squeeze in. And taking your legs straight up towards the ceiling, we'll take a waterfall. So you can stay here or bring a block or a pillow underneath your bum, or if the wall's nearby, scoot yourself over and you can do legs up the wall. And in this pose, just trying to do as little as possible. Like, how can I hold my feet up, my legs up with the least amount of effort? Maybe bending your knees a little bit more. Maybe it's becoming a little more aware of your breath. Allowing your pelvis to get heavy. And feeling your feet to ankles, to shins, to knees, thigh bones, pelvis. And slowly bring your knees into your chest. We'll take our arms out into a T. And knees over hips, shins parallel to the ground. Let's take a supine twist. Drop your knees over to the right. And for this one, try to keep your Shoulders both on the ground, but not by pressing them down. There's just gravity weighing you down. Breathe in. A big breath, expanding through your ribs. Let it go, sink in. And come back to center. And let's switch sides, dropping your knees over to the left. Shoulders are heavy. Big breath in. And let it go. Two more breaths. Just sink in. And come back to center. One last hug, draw your knees in, and you can even lift up your head, tuck in, and release for Shavasana. And if you want, grab yourself a blanket or put your sweater back on or whatever you got. You want to be comfortable in your Shavasana. So laying on your back. Laying on your back. Feel your breath moving through your body. Just take a couple nice full body breaths. And then let your breath fall to a natural rhythm. Letting go of any manipulation or control. Just let your breath flow. And take your attention to your ears and the outer folds of your ears. And then moving to the inner parts of your ear. And let your awareness just stay with your sense of hearing right now. So open your ears up and allow yourself to just notice everything that you hear. And just let the sounds just come into your awareness and then leave your awareness without too much thought around each sound. And just noticing that you don't really have a lot of control. You actually have no control over what sounds come into your awareness. They just appear.
Noticing any reactions to sounds. And if at any point you do have a reaction or your mind drifts, just gently bring it back to the present sounds. But notice first where your mind went. Come back to the sounds. And if you're not really hearing anything, notice that even silence has a sound. Bring your attention back to your physical ears. And following sensations at your ears, move towards your eyes. Bring your attention to your eye sockets, to your eyeballs, and your sense of sight behind your closed eyelids. Notice that you have a field of view behind your closed eyes. There are colors and shapes and textures and an edge. And then open your eyes and take in the field of view here, but without focusing too specific, just a very broad field of view. Notice what you see. Close your eyes again. Come back to the field of view behind your closed eyelids. Open your eyes again. Take in the field of view. Colors, shapes, textures. And close your eyes. And slowly start to bring some movement into your body. And make your way up into a seated position. Your eyes closed and your hands at heart center in Anjali Mudra. And let's take a breath in together. Let it out. And the light in me sees the light in each of you, even though you're not here. Namaste. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And looking forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.